Nelly just said it's quite hot in here. Is everybody feeling that? Can we please turn the aircon up? Huh? Is it ice cold? Oh, well, maybe they need to swap. Yeah, maybe they need to swap places with us.
I think so.
Clearly. So, I like you. Okay, so Jenny gave this to me during the break, and I'm holding on to it, and I just realized, okay, Denise, you can't hold on to that all the time. So did anybody lose a watch? It's a beautiful gold watch. Is it yours? Okay, I'm going to leave it here for you. Okay. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, and good morning to all the beautiful ladies.
So you flew up from Joburg to join us.
Correct.
Okay. So, you've got an interesting story, and as I say, you inspire me because you're so young, and there's just this depth about you. So I want to explore that a little bit with you today. And you describe yourself as an entrepreneur first. You're a financial wellness coach, and you're a motivational speaker. And you're also a day trader. So we really want to dig down deep in terms of this day trading that you do and what asset classes interest you. And also, you're an aspiring horse rider.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. So we're going to maybe have to get you to Cape Town because, there's some beautiful farms here.
Yes, I heard about them.
So, Nelly, I wanted to find out, where did this journey all start for you?
Wow. So firstly, I'm actually 25.
Wow.
25 and still alive, I always say. So when it comes to that, I grew up in a middle-class family in a 99% white-dominated neighborhood. So being entry-level middle class, I was exposed to people in different tax brackets, people that are really rich, people that are really poor, people that are entry-level. So when it comes to that, I always question, why do some people have money? Why don't other people have money? As I went about my career, I realized it's actually a psychological thing at the end of the day. So I had really rich friends. I always say, if you're the smartest and richest person amongst your friends, that's not a great place that you want to be in. You need to make sure that you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, richer than you, more successful than you. That way you get to grasp all these lessons as well. So when it comes to horse riding, actually, it's something new that I started. One of my really rich friends used to go horse riding grade 4. And it's a funny story because I'd asked my parents when we went horse riding once, and her mom said, okay, it's fine, I'll drop you off, but your parents will have to pay for your classes. And having really old black parents, they said to me, well, we send you to school to get an education. How is horse riding going to benefit you? Where do you expect me to get the money for horse riding? Technically, you're going to fall.
Where's this going to go to? Yeah.
And they didn't quite understand that it's just an activity. And now that I'm much older, it's a great place to network. So fast forward to 2017, I just received an award from Frost & Sullivan. It's an international company, but they have an office here in Cape Town. It's for African Young Entrepreneur of the Year. So that's pretty great.
Woohoo!
Thank you. So it hasn't been an easy journey, but at the end of the day, like I said, surround yourself with people that are better than you. You need to make sure that you empty out your teacup. Don't be the type of person that thinks that you know it all and you figured it out. That's not the way to learn.
So you say you want to enable the next generation of smart, savvy, and successful and proud South Africans. Is this your personal why? Is this your key driver?
100%, and not just South Africans, Africans as a whole, because there's a lot of opportunities in Africa, and other countries tend to overlook us. So we need to make sure that we empower one another, and we understand how finances work, because we're all, especially as South Africans, we're all quick to talk about wealth redistribution, but people don't even have a solid understanding of financial literacy and basic financial management. Forget wealth distribution, you need to understand the basics, because at the end of the day, a person that cannot handle money, if you were to put money in their hands, as we can see with leadership as well, people don't know how to handle money. So it's not about, I need to get money in my hands. It's, you need to be educated. What are you going to do with the money before it gets to your hands? And that's the biggest thing. This is why financial education is so important.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Going back to some of the questions about education and how do you get involved in this, and I think it's important that you just have to wake up with that mindset every day, is to say, in order to better myself, I need to educate myself about this stuff. And it's not going to come to you, right? You need to 100%. Go out and do it. Yeah. So Nelly, you say that you've watched this movie, Pursuit of Happiness, and I haven't watched it, so I'm going to definitely relax and watch it tomorrow. But I'm intrigued as to why did you watch it so many times? What is it about that movie you love?
So what happened was a bit about my journey. So I was a straight A student, all-rounder, from grade 1.
I would never have said that.
I mean, I was that child. I learned how to write my name when I was 2. I've just always been really great at what I did. So the issue then was when I got to matric, I realized that we didn't have finance for tertiary. And it was a case of, I took it very personal because I played my part. I stayed away from boys. Contrary to what you see, I stayed away from boys. I did the right thing, and money let me down. And I just didn't quite understand, where did it all go wrong? So I went to university for the first year, and then we didn't have money for the second year and the third year. And that was very embarrassing because, you are a straight A student. Didn't your parents save? And that's one thing that I had to ask them. But they didn't understand what financial literacy was. They didn't understand how to handle the bit of money that they had. So it was in my gap year when I watched The Pursuit of Happiness. It was just a random movie that I had. And that's when I first heard about the stock market, Wall Street. And I wondered, do we have a Wall Street? It's actually Gwen Lane. We have one. Oh, why don't people know about the markets? If I'm only learning about the markets at 19, 20, what about other people? So that's when I became very fascinated about financial markets and financial instruments. But in hindsight, when I look back, that movie really hits home because Will Smith, who plays Chris Garner, it's based on a true story, he didn't have much. He didn't know anything. There were people there that came from really great schools, really great homes, who wanted the same position that he had to work at Wall Street. He didn't have anything. But the main thing that he had in terms of qualifications, the one thing that he had was he was very determined. And he never let his circumstance determine his future. It's one of those things. It doesn't matter if you live under a bridge or you living in your car. It's not about that. It's about waking up and presenting yourself in a way that you want people to respect you. And irrespective of what your personal situation is, you need to make sure that you go above and beyond. So that's a type of story it hits home because people sometimes assume, especially millennials, millennials actually have the highest amount of debt, and it comes in the form of student loans. Yeah. We're rushing to get formal qualifications and not understanding that education isn't just formal qualification. I'm all for that because I'm continuing with my studies now because I can afford to. But at the end of the day, education is an ongoing thing. So in the presence or the absence of a formal education, don't let that stop you from achieving. So even if you have a degree or master's degree, it doesn't matter. I have clients who have PhDs. And technically, they're much smarter than I am. But clearly, there's something that I have learned that I can teach them. So at the end of the day, keep educating yourself. Pick up a book. Just because I stayed at home for a year or so doesn't mean I didn't go to the library. The same books that people were studying or using, doing a BCom, I used to go read the same books in the library. The library is free. Yes, they're slightly outdated, but there's no book that's not valuable. So keep educating yourself. Education doesn't stop.
Yeah, so definitely what I'm picking up from you is there's no real excuse. You can find material nowadays online. There are still some libraries around. Go and scratch in your mom or your dad's box. Mom, you are here. There's some fabulous books over there. And, just continue to educate yourself. Something that Hilda also said, it's a continuous process. It doesn't stop because the world doesn't stop. So what you think that you've learned today may not necessarily be relevant in a month's time.
100%.
Yeah. So I pick up such great confidence from you, and I'm quite intrigued.
Hopefully not on this chair. This chair is making me feel so insecure and so uncomfortable. I think I'm focused on the chair. Okay, I'll just let my legs swing.
So, would you prefer to stand?
I think I'll just swing my legs for now.
Yeah? Just enjoy the moment, like you're back,
It's so high.
swinging on a chair. So, you've got this amazing confidence about you, and where do you think that all came from? I mean, who really inspired you, and who did you look up to that gave you this?
Well, at the end of the day, I'm fortunate enough to be raised by really great parents. Even though they didn't have a lot of money, that doesn't mean they weren't great parents.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is being self-motivated. Because in the beginning when I started my business, I didn't have support from anyone. So I had to find it within myself to continue. And today people clap for you, get awards, that's great. So you should never let the presence or absence of people determine if you're motivated or not. You need to dig deep within yourself and say, you know what, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether I have money, whether I don't have money, I will still continue. There's nothing more powerful than being self-motivated. Because a lot of people tend to put their confidence on their support system and the people around them. People die. What happens then? One of my personal assistants, she used to tell me a story that she used to be very confident growing up. But then her mom died because her mom was her number one supporter. And you can just tell that she never got over it. So coming from a place whereby there are people around you, people will come, people will go. Today you'll be trending on Twitter for something really great. Tomorrow people will be bashing on social media. It shouldn't be about that. You need to make sure that you find your confidence and your motivation within yourself.
Okay. So yeah, so it really starts with self, doesn't it? It's all about
100%.
self. And Nelly, you have answered it to some extent, but what are those top 5 factors that you think have really contributed to your success? We've spoken about education, we've spoken about self, we've spoken about building that self-awareness and confidence. Are there any additional kind of factors you think that really had helped you grow to the successful level so young?
Yes, so I call them my 5 Ps.
Yeah.
Prayer, passion, perseverance, persistence, and patience. So to elaborate, prayer is very important. When it comes to running a business and managing people, at the end of the day, there's nothing more powerful than the Bible, irrespective of what your religion is. Because the Bible teaches you how to run your business, how to be a better leader, how to be a better person, how to be a role model. So prayer is very important because sometimes in business, things can be really great and really overwhelming, but sometimes things can be very bad. You also don't want to rush into different, making certain decisions. So you need some sort of peace as well. The second thing would be passion. One of the ladies asked, because I was sitting right at the back, she said, I want to be a business person, but where do I start? Well, my answer to you would be passion. What are you passionate about? Some people are passionate about beauty. You can have your own makeup kits, as we've seen. Kylie's a multi-millionaire from that. People like to bake. You can have a catering company. Some of us who are passionate about people and finance, I have financial literacy company. It all starts with passion, because at the end of the day, if you follow what I do, so if I said I am in logistics, and there you go, you have no idea what logistics is about, you just see that, okay, she's wearing Louboutins, I also want to wear Louboutins, let me do what she does. That's the biggest misconception when it comes to entrepreneurship, just following the crowd. You need to know what you're passionate about and follow that, because passion comes first, then paper comes right after. The third thing is perseverance. This is what my father taught me. He always said, persevere, because there are many times growing up where I felt like my life was standing still. Why didn't I have a license and a car at 18? Why didn't I go to school as well? It's all about perseverance. There's a time and place for everything, so you need to make sure that you don't give up at the end of the day. Number 4, persistence, part of what I said just now. And number 5, patience. People think that as an entrepreneur, at this point in life, I'm actually going to France in October to speak. I've been invited to speak at the World Forum for Responsible Economy. But you hear that today, and you don't realize that it wasn't like that in the beginning. People see the end result and don't understand that, yes, it is possible, but you need to be patient with yourself, patient with life, and patient with the process. Because it takes time to get to a certain place. It doesn't mean that you won't get there. A blessing delayed It's not a blessing denied. So it's all about patience and take your time.
Yeah. I love those 5 Ps. I definitely resonate with number 1 as well. My mom does a lot of ministry work, and she's really instilled in us the power of prayer. And and even this morning before we came, we stood and we prayed, because there is a higher power, and you need to move along with that and understand that we're not just here alone. So I resonate with that. Thank you. Tell me about FeeFine. So, what is FeeFine? How does it work? How do people get involved with the business?
So FeeFine stands for Females with Finance, and it's a derivative of the bigger company, Baron Investments. And I actually started that because my aunt, whose husband passed away a couple of years ago. So let me just give you a quick story of my aunt. So she was a cashier at Pick n Pay, and the husband was a teacher. So long story short, Pick n Pay doesn't really give people permanent contracts. Everyone is temporary. So her job finished, in a sense. They didn't renew her contract. So she stayed at home, and he was the breadwinner. Long story short, he passed away and left her with about 5 million rand. This is from someone who probably earns not more than 5,000 rand, and now she's sitting at home. I've never seen someone so overwhelmed by money. If it were up to her, she'd give it all back and just have her husband back. So sometimes we tend to pray for things or want things. I want money. I'll give anything for it. And you don't understand that for some people, money is a burden. And she has 3 kids, and she didn't know what to do with it. So that's when Females with Finance came into play, whereby we educate women on financial independence and entrepreneurship and financial literacy. And we have various workshops and seminars, such as these ones. But
do you do those countrywide?
We've only just done it in Johannesburg. We'd like to take it to other provinces as well. But the biggest thing that came out of FeeFine was FeeFine Girls Program, whereby I personally mentor, and I get some of the ladies as well to mentor some young girls in the townships. So I'm not personally from there, but we mentored some girls in Soweto. And you would be very shocked, because a lot of people go to Soweto, it's a tourist attraction, but you'd be very shocked as to what happens inside the neighborhood and the things that people are going through, these young girls. Sanitary towels, we take that for granted. Food, you take it for granted. You think, I just ran out of MAC foundation. God be with me, people can't see me without makeup. Some people don't have anything at all, and men tend to take advantage of that. I see it all the time when I'm in Sandton. These old men with these young girls. But before we judge as women, say, why is she with an old married man, sometimes, that's the only way she can make money. So as women, especially much older women who are wise as well, we need to take these young girls. It's very difficult to teach a grown woman something. But it's much easier. Kids are people, they're little people. You can sort of brainwash them. Whatever you tell them, they stick to it. So these young girls are younger than 18, so they're in primary and high school, and we teach them about financial independence, building entrepreneurship skills. And, a man is not a financial plan. You can make your own money, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's what we teach the young girls.
So, Nelly, on that, is there a mantra that you live by?
Yes, there is. It's a Chinese, there's a lot, I love quotes, but there's a Chinese proverb that says, if you give a man fish, you feed him for a day, but if you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Yeah. And this is why education is so important and financial literacy is so important. We need to create a society whereby people, especially South Africans, we live on this, handouts. You just put your handouts and money just comes in there, We need to allow people we need to teach people how to fend for themselves, because that's how you create generational wealth. So it's really about teaching people about property, like what Wealth Migrate does, teaching people about entrepreneurship, so you can create and sustain wealth.
This awareness, And so going on the investment side, you describe yourself as an investor. What do you typically invest in?
So I have various investments, financial investments, unit trusts, different hedge fund strategies, etc., that suit my risk profile as an investor. But I only recently started getting into property. So when I got the opportunity to come to speak at the Wealth Migrate event, I just knew that, yes, I'm on the right track, because real estate is a really great form of investment. So also I invest in businesses, my own. I invest in my own businesses. I haven't really gone to that point where I want to invest in other people's businesses, because I believe that one needs to have multiple streams of income. So don't just have one business, have multiple or even subsidiaries of your bigger business.
Yeah. And I think this is something that is really important, because, you know, from a young age we always taught, you know, put all your money just in the bank account, or just go and buy unit trusts, or buy an RA. And we have got so many new opportunities open to us in terms of alternative asset classes. Things like exactly what Wealth Migrate is offering through their platform, which is, you know, alternative investing in commercial property real estate. I mean, who really thought that you could do that? So there's a lot more that's been open to us.
100%. I mean, it's all about opportunity. There's a fine line between being ignorant and lack of information. Sometimes we don't know, that's why many women are here. But beyond this point, if you have the information and it's given to you and you have the opportunity, don't be ignorant. Don't be that person that's caught with their pants down a couple of years down the line, where we could be in a recession and you don't have enough money to live on. So you need to make sure that any opportunity that you get, you seize it. And this is definitely one of them.
Thank you. Nelly, so recent studies show that women make smarter investors. Do you believe this? And if so, why?
Well, I'd definitely say I do, because women are more disciplined by nature and more patient. And those are the two main characteristics that are required to be a successful investor. You need to be disciplined. You need to be patient. In terms of discipline, you need to understand that if I put away 100,000 Rand in a property investment of some sort, I'm not going to cash out in December to buy gifts. And patience is also required, because you need to see your investments through. People don't understand that investing of any nature is long-term. If you want to invest, you need to ensure that you're putting that money away for at least 3 years before you can access it. It's not a, you know, get rich overnight sort of thing. It's really one of those things that require discipline and patience. And that's one thing that women have.
Setting it out.
Even in marriages and places where we don't need to be, we tend to sit out at unnecessary places. But
with investments,
100%, with the same characteristics and qualities, let's sit it out in investments.
So you've done a little bit of research now about real estate investing, and why do you think that women should consider this as an asset class to invest in?
So, I mean, investments or real estate is a very big part of a balanced portfolio. So that's why I only started getting into real estate this year, because I realized, okay, my portfolio is great, but it requires some sort of balance, and this is why real estate is so important. But from a biblical perspective, once again, how many of you are familiar with the Proverbs 31 woman? By show of hands. How many of you think you're a Proverbs 31 woman? How many of you would like to be a Proverbs 31 woman? All of us. But there's a part there that we actually missed out. Because sometimes we think that, you know, in 2017, with technology, we have all the answers. But if you read in Proverbs 31, verse 16 says, she goes to inspect land and buys it. With her earnings, she buys a vineyard. She makes sure her dealings are profitable. So originally, we've been instructed to go and become real estate and property investors. She sees the land and she buys it. She doesn't ask her husband. She doesn't ask the bank. She's already so powerful and financially independent that she understands the power of real estate. I mean, it's written there. And the biggest part is that she makes sure her dealings are profitable. And a lot of people did ask, okay, how do I get into property? I don't have much money. This is where Wealth Migrate comes into play, because you need to make sure that when you are investing, especially in real estate, because it can be tricky and not everyone is legit, you need to make sure that the profits that you earn are substantial. And you need to be mentored and guided by people who have been in the industry who can help you.
And understand.
And understand, definitely.
Yeah. So Nelly, it's challenging, I know, sometimes being a woman in the corporate world. How do you personally face these challenges?
You know, I always get that question.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I haven't experienced any challenges based on my race, my gender, or my age. One would think, you know, being a young black female, those three categories, I mean, I'm at a disadvantage. If anything, it's placed me in a better position. But the biggest thing is that we should never put race, gender, or age into what success is, the spectrum of success, because it's how you present yourself and how you handle and carry yourself. I never walked in, I mean, I started my business at about 20. I never made gender, especially because finance is a male-driven industry.
Yeah.
You know, I never thought for 1 second that I'm incapable of doing something. You know, so at the end of the day, it's about what you think of yourself. Because if you create your own problems by putting those mental boundaries and barriers, because you say, well, I'm not good enough, I'm female, I don't have enough money, I'm too young, I'm too old. There's no such a thing. You're the reason why you're not where you want to be. So take out those mental boundaries and decide, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to get there. Doesn't matter how long it takes. And if it means I need to be the voice of reason to other women, then let it be. And along your way, as Hilda mentioned, let's inspire and encourage one another. It's not just about me, it's about you, it's about everyone in this room. And the younger generation, I mean, we have young little girls that are coming up, and they're coming up in a very difficult era. Yeah. So we need to make it easier for them. We need to pave the way and make it much easier for them so they don't face some of the challenges that most people have faced in the room.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, it's, as you say, you know, going back and really passing on the guidance and giving the advice and teaching them from some of the lessons that you've learnt along the way.
100%. It's all about each one teach one. That's what Maya Angelou said as well. As you learn, teach. It's not just about you, or else you'd be sitting somewhere on an island. It's about everyone.
Alone.
Alone. What good is that? It's about the person next to you, behind you, in front of you. Sometimes it's not even about the person you came with. It's about someone else you've never met before, because that's how businesses grow. That's how we grow personally, by networking. So don't be selfish, because sometimes we all fall under this notion that if I have the secret, I'm going to keep it to myself. It's not about that, because a closed hand can't receive anything. So you need to open your hand, receive, and give at the same time. Yeah. It's give and take.
Yeah. So on that notion, I mean, what would you say is the best business decision that you've made, and the worst business decision that you've made, and what have you learnt from both of those?
I mean, I'd like to give you a perfect answer. You know, no mistake is bad. You learn from everything, but you need to know your industry. That's the biggest thing. Like I said earlier, don't be quick to follow whatever someone is doing. Research, be well informed about whatever industry you want to get into, because I actually invested 100,000 in logistics. That's why I mentioned it, because I thought, hey, you know, logistics, you just put stuff on a truck and there they go. And I didn't go in well informed, and I lost that amount of money, which is okay. That's part of entrepreneurship. If you sit and speak to Hilda even and all the other entrepreneurs, we've put in some money in different ventures and they didn't work out. But we've put in some money in ventures that have worked out. So the biggest thing about entrepreneurship is I've invested over $250,000 in my own businesses, my own ideas. Because why should I go to a bank to get a loan and ask them to believe in me if I can't believe in myself? So I've put up my own money in things that I'm passionate about. This is why passion is so important. I'm not passionate about logistics. That was the first mistake, chasing after money. There was no passion, there was no knowledge there. But as I continue to invest in things that I'm passionate about and have a firm understanding, I mean, they're doing extremely well.
And this is part of what FeeFind does, is really help women to look for people that are willing to fund them on their journey, looking for that kind of first-time seed capital.
100%. I mean, when I started my business a couple of years ago, I didn't have an investor. I didn't get a loan because, I mean, I didn't have any collateral in the first place. So I had to do everything from the ground up. And in as much as we help women to identify different investors and startup capital places where they give you funding, etc. At the end of the day, I am a firm believer in creating income. A little goes a long way. Don't be quick to have this amazing business plan and you require R1 million. How much money did you put in? How much of your own money did you put in? Because sometimes that's where innovation comes in. So let's not run for the investors and these loans. Let's start small. Put in your own money, your own time, build something, and then take it to someone else to say, listen, this is how much I've made, this is how much I've invested. Can you please help me take my business to the next level? And also look for different opportunities. You mentioned some of the funds and categories that you guys have as well. What is the minimum there? It doesn't require a lot. Sometimes people think that it requires 100,000, 200,000 to be invested. No. People are rich and wealthy because they know how to invest, number one. Number two, they also have multiple streams of income.
And they try different
100%. Statistics show that a really wealthy person has at least 7 different income streams. Yeah. So how many do you have is the question, and how far are you from 7?
And make your money work for you while you're sleeping.
100%.
Yeah. So I could sit and ask you so many questions, but that's just going to be selfish. So I'm going to ask if there's any questions that anybody has that they'd like to ask Nelly.
How did you start trading on the stock exchange? Where did you start? How does someone do it that has no knowledge about it?
Thanks for the question. So I started with equities. So there are different types of financial instruments. So I started with equities off the stock market, which is we have JSE. And then I moved on to futures and derivatives, and then moved on to all sorts of investments as well. So you need to make sure that, one, you identify the type of trader or investor you are. Are you high risk? Are you more of a person who wants to risk a little? Because that's the first step. Because if you say, I'm more of a high risker, I like to take high risks, then futures and derivatives would work out for you. Things like Forex, things like trading oil, trading gold, etc. But if you're more of a, let's say, a novice trader, you just started, things such as shares would work for you. But the biggest thing is we offer various training programs as well to give people the understanding of the different financial instruments that we have. Because how you trade the stock market and how you trade, for example, futures or derivatives market are very, very different. So it's just about the number one. 100%. This is why I always say education is ongoing. So you can contact us, you can contact me, just understand. And the second thing would be, what type of trader or investor are you? What is your risk appetite? And then that will make things much easier in terms of low risk has certain products and instruments, and then high risk has something very different as well. Thank you.
Hi, Nelly.
Hi.
My name's Siska, and I'm working for Wealth Migrate. So I'm just curious to find out, have you registered on our platform, and have you played around and looked at our products?
Yes, I have. That's the first thing when it comes to business. When people book you, you need to find out what they do and if it aligns with your values. So definitely, I spoke to the ladies earlier on. I would like to personally partner with Wealth Migrate to take these services into other communities and into Johannesburg, because what you guys are doing is really great. We don't offer the exact products and services that you offer, but there is a market. Some of our own clients have asked us, okay, do you give courses on property? How do I get into property investing and real estate? And I always said no, so this is definitely a place where we can combine our products and services, and we can share some of our clients with you, without a doubt.
So yeah, chat to Nelly, and where's Mel Ford in the room? Oh, okay, so there you are, Mel. So Mel is our affiliate manager, and these are the kind of partnerships that we encourage at Wealth Migrate. So we partner with people that are aligned to our values and have similar business interest with us and similar principles, and we run an affiliate program with them. And this is something, Siska, that we're going to be doing with Nelly. Sorry, just Just one moment. There we go. There we go.
You mentioned you keep yourself self-motivated.
Because we're too close.
How do you do that, or what do you do? What do you do every day that keeps you just going and going and going?
Well, the biggest thing is prayer. I pray like 100 times a day. Whether it's a good day, it's a bad day, it doesn't matter. Prayer is very important. You need to be connected to a higher being, irrespective of what people believe in. I personally am connected to a much higher being. And you need to have a strong sense of self-worth. You need to know who you are, because in the world that we're living in, especially being a young woman as well, you can be easily influenced and swayed. I mean, many times I have to work with men, and what's stopping me from getting that big deal by doing something else? So you need to know who you are and be really in tune with your passion and your purpose. And those are like the 2-3 things. So passion, purpose, and inner peace as well. Those are the 3 things that allow me to become self-motivated. And I have this clear picture of who I think Nelisiwe Masango is. That's a person, actually. It's not me. I see her as someone completely different. I see her as this amazing woman in the future. And I always keep my eye on her because she's the only person I'm competing with. That's why I can help other women. I can encourage other women because I don't compete with anybody else. I compete with the future me.
That is so profound. That is seriously profound.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I personally learned a lot from that statement. Thank you for sharing. Oh, sorry, here we go. There we go.
Hi. You said earlier that you started out trading on the JSE. My knowledge of trading on the stock market is very limited. However, I know that you can't just go there with 1,000 rand. You obviously also need to identify a range of stocks so that you're diversified and you don't lose all your money. So for someone who has a limited amount of money, but who does want access to the stock market, would you suggest a unit trust that actually you're getting the expertise of an asset manager for a reduced amount of fees and costs compared to the stock market, but still getting that growth?
Thanks for the question. I'm a huge advocate of this notion of do things yourself. Because, I mean, you earn your money. You know how you work hard for your money. So why rely on a financial advisor? This is why I'm not a financial advisor. We partner up with the financial advisor. But I believe that people need to be well informed and equipped, because even though you put your money in a unit trust, do you monitor it? Do you know the factors that can that cause the unit trust to fluctuate? Because at the end of the day, what happens is you put money away, you go back and you said, well, what happened to my money? Why isn't it 10,000 Rand anymore? Why is it 8,000 Rand? And then the financial advisor has to explain things that you should already understand. So this is why it's so important. There's something called Easy Equities, which is one of Wealth Migrate's partners and our partners as well, whereby you can buy shares for, less than 1,000 Rand. And these are big companies that are listed on the JSE. It's like a share of a share.
It's a fractional share.
A fractional share, you know. But it's a great place for you to start. And so that's the first thing. The second thing would be, okay, so you just told me about Easy Equities. What's the way forward? Identify brands that you're comfortable with. I mean, many people shop at Woolworths. People shop at ShopRite. You're on Vodacom, you're in M10. Whatever it is, you use Nedbank, FMB. Brands that you use, that you're comfortable with, that's the first place to start investing in and buying shares. A lot of people, men aren't here, I always tell the men, you drink alcohol, but are you an investor in SAB, you know? So things like that. You bank with Nedbank, but are you an investor, you're a shareholder? So it's called Easy Equities. 1,000 Rand can get you quite a bit. It's a great place to start and look at brands that you're familiar with and you're comfortable with.
So on that, we are going to be doing our next education workshop very soon. Jenny, just remind me, we're doing Durban at the end of October, and then Cape Town and Joburg the first week of November. And we're going to be co-sponsoring with Easy Equities, and really the whole education program is why it's so important to have a diversified portfolio. And what we're bringing in there is we are going to be talking about equities with easy equities. We're talking about Wealth Migrate in terms of real estate investing. And we're also going to be educated, which is something we're going to touch on next. And I really have such limited knowledge about it. Is crypto the new cash? And what does this mean to us? And oh my word, that word alone just sounds so big to me. But we need to educate ourselves about it. It's not going to go away. We need to know more. So join our next workshops and let's find out a little bit how we do this diversified portfolio. Yes.
I've come across a company called ETFSA, which Narina Fisses is one of the people who started it up, and you can invest on the JSE, and the minimum amount is 300 Rand a month. So if you want to look that up on the internet, that might be a starting point.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
ETFSA.
And for those who don't know, ETF stands for Exchange Traded Funds. So.
Yeah.
Good morning. I have two questions. My first question is about university experiences. I'm a 21-year-old studying medicine at Stellenbosch. And it feels like when you get to university, you're kind of bombarded with a lot of things and people get overwhelmed very quickly. Now your parents give you an allowance and you don't know what to do with your money. So I wanted to ask, what's one thing that you could maybe advise to students who have just like a little bit of money and you have a little extra? Should you rather go out with your friends or should you, you know, what should you do?
Definitely not. Do that, but save
And the
some
second
too.
question is about parents who have students in matric. Your gap year came because you couldn't finance, but there are a lot of matric students who want to go on gap years. I was one of those students and my parents said no. So I wanted to ask, how important do you think it is for students to take a gap year and find yourself and these passions that they have?
All right, what's your name again?
Nonto.
Nanki, so smart. These young kids are so smart. Thank you for your question. First and foremost, number one, congratulations for being accepted into medical school.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a brain surgeon, but entrepreneurship just had me by the imaginary balls. So well done on that. And it's really nice to see young people pursue their education and go home and thank your parents that one, they could put you through medical school, and two, they even give you an allowance. Now the second thing is don't disappoint them. One, stay away from boys. Stay away from them, because I mean you have about 7 years to study. Really focus, because young women like you are really hard to find that are passionate about education and that you're so well spoken as well. So please don't let men and boys sway you. All right. The second thing is money, the allowance that you get. So you said your main question was, should I go out with my friends? No, because chances are you won't be friends with them after university. And two, it becomes a waste of money. I mean, social life won't pay you. You know, unless you're a Kardashian and you get paid for being a socialite, it's not going to pay you. Focus on your studies. I think by the time you are a medical doctor, when you run your own practice, trust me, you can have the time of your life. You can have a party here, you can party in Jamaica, because you'll be financially independent and you'll be educated, unlike the people that are always encouraging you to go out. So really, I say no, don't go out, because I mean, I can be very antisocial, but you'll thank me afterwards. So just focus on school, and the money that you do have, get into ETFSA, get into easy equities, get into something that Wealth Migrate has, because 8 years down the line, once you are a qualified doctor, once you have much more money, you'll start adding more money onto these existing portfolios. And the second question you had was, what was the second question? See, I'm getting old. Gap year, there we go. So when it comes to a gap year, I'm such a flamboyant child and very stubborn. So even though they said no, I'll do my own thing. But in hindsight, all the people that have qualifications now, people that I went to school with, they regret it. That's number one. Number two, most people are actually studying something that they're passionate about. Because sometimes parents tend to force their children to study certain things, either A, because that's the only bursary or learnership that's available, or B, they tend to live their dreams through you. So this is why it's very important, one, to save money, because I mean, studying one degree is well over 200,000 rand. So to save money, let your child have a gap year, but monitor them. Don't say gap year and go gallivanting. Let them stay in the house, have a gap year, speak to your children. I mean, I'm not a mother yet, but speak to your children. Try to understand them. Try to understand their passions. And also when it comes to the older generation, as young people, we need to make them understand that things have changed. You can be a blogger and get paid for it part-time. There's different career paths that are available now, not just being a doctor, lawyer, and an accountant. That's it. So for some of you young people that are here as well, and your parents are slightly stubborn, sit down with them, show them what you're passionate about, and also find someone that is successful in that field. Because don't just assume that you're going to take a couple of pictures on Instagram and you're going to be rich. No. There's a business strategy. There's a business strategy and business model in every single career. So it's just about communication. Thank you.